So now the House has voted. What happens next? What happens in the impeachment of President Trump moving forward? And what can we expect from the impending Senate trial? ABC4's Brittany Johnson joins us live in studio to break it all down.
Well, Nick, although both articles passed, meaning President Donald Trump is impeached, he is not yet removed from office. The Senate determines whether that will happen. And the local political expert I spoke with tonight expects a decision from the Senate rather quickly.
A historic day in Washington. Lawmakers voting to impeach President Donald Trump.
Article 1 is adopted.
President Trump is just the third president in United States history to be impeached by the House of Representatives and could be the first impeached president to be reelected if he wins. Jason Perry, director of the Hinckley Institute of Politics at the University of Utah.
And it really changes the dynamic for the 2020 election. I think both sides are going to try to use what's happened for ammunition for this next election. President Trump, without question, is going to talk about how this was an unjust proceedings from the beginning. It's an issue that the Democrats have been trying to get him from the day he was elected to office, maybe even from before the time he was in office. He will use this to try to gain traction. The Democrats are going to talk about this as being a case where actual articles were presented because crimes occurred. Where people believe that is largely going to be based on where they fall politically.
What happens next? The two articles of impeachment will be turned over to the Senate. In order for the president to be convicted in the Senate, at least 20 Republicans will need to vote yes on both articles of impeachment.
Since I think it's really unlikely that the Senate is going to vote to convict him, Utahns are paying attention because it matters what happens in Washington, D.C. And the reality is we want the rule of law to be put into effect. We want people to be held accountable when they should, but we also want the safeguards to be put in place when this becomes more about politics than about the law.
A Senate conviction will determine whether President Donald Trump will have to leave office. Now, a trial will be held in the Republican-controlled Senate early next year, and it's been indicated by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell that this will all move quickly. Nick?